Hello and a great big welcome back to the Ultimate Business Course. You're nearly there. We are module 14 and this is it. This is where we pull a lot of what we've learned together. And the way we're going to do that today is we're going to look at your team. Now, many of you may think that this module doesn't apply to you, but it absolutely does apply to you. The biggest misconception in small business or in business is that you have to do it alone. You don't have to do it alone. You need to be building your team. And if you understand this at the very beginning of your business, or even if you're further down the line in your business and you've been feeling alone in the journey, I believe that this module is going to set you free and help you realize how much help there really is out there to get your business further faster. And so let's take a look today at building a team just for you, so that you have the people and the support that you need and the expertise that you need to take your business to the next level. One of the subjects that I'm very passionate about is temperaments. I have studied for years the different temperaments. I love looking into people and how they are and how they respond to things and how they connect with other people. I find it absolutely fascinating. And not only watching other people, but observing myself and realizing that I too have strengths and weaknesses, and they're purely because of temperament. So I'm not a bad or a good person. I just am, because I'm built this way. And it's very liberating, because suddenly you realize that you don't have to feel bad about yourself. You just have to focus on who you really are and build your business according to who you really are, and then find other people for who they really are and get them to complement your strengths and weaknesses and build your business in a very healthy, natural, authentic way. So we're going to start. What I usually do if I'm doing the Ultimate Business Course live with in a group session, or if I'm mentoring somebody one-on-one, the very first thing I ask them to do before I even begin to talk to them about anything is to do a temperament test. Now, the temperament test, there are very, very many different types and forms of personality profiles and temperament tests, and they're all excellent and they're all valuable and they're all beneficial. So if you can get into some sort of personality profiling, take a course or read a book or two, it will be useful. In business, people buy from people. And the best thing you can do is invest in your people skills, in understanding people, how they work, what works for them, what doesn't work for them, how to get the most out of people, how to unleash their potential, and most importantly, how to unleash your potential. And so I'm a massive fan, a massive advocate of all of the personality profiling tools out there. My personal favorite is very simply the 4 temperaments, and they stem all the way back from 460 BC with the Greek physician Hippocrates. And so most temperament profiles in some way or another are based on this ancient form of temperaments. And so Hippocrates believed that there were 4 types. There's the sanguine, the choleric, the melancholic, and the phlegmatic. And so this is my favorite model. It's the very simple 4 temperaments. Now, if you wanted to get into it a bit deeper, you could go into the very intense Myers-Briggs personality profiling tests, and you can do so much with that. It is a fantastic tool. I've done it. I recommend it. It is useful, but it is a bit more in depth, a bit more complicated, and it can be expensive or a bit more pricey than some of the other models. Yet, depending on what you're looking for, it is highly recommended. Then you get your wealth dynamics and your talent dynamics. You get your disc profiling tools. There are so many out there, and they're all valuable. So I wouldn't knock any one of them at this point. But what we're going to cover today will give you an excellent basic idea of the temperaments and it will be useful. So even if you just take what we're doing today and apply that to your business, you are already leagues ahead of people who don't have a clue about people. Let's take a look at a quote. You know how much I love quotes. John Zenger, a journalist, he said, "Great leaders are not defined by the absence of weakness, by the presence of clear strengths." And so another thing that I highly recommend is Strengths Finder. It's a book. You can get it on Amazon. I think it's $11.99 or $14.99. It's standard book price. And it is a fantastic book that teaches you how to find your strengths and how to play to your strengths. So they will help you through a series of tests and through some reading. They'll help you find your top 5 strengths. And what they do is they encourage you to forget about your weaknesses. You have them, get over it and focus on your strengths. And I firmly believe as well that understanding and playing to your strengths is valuable. I wouldn't completely say ignore your weaknesses. I think you can tame your weaknesses and make sure that they are not holding you back. But at the same time, don't try and turn your weaknesses into strengths, because you'll spend all of your time trying to fix yourself and never actually get any work done. And you can have a look at doing a test there and try and find your top strengths. So there are many, as I said, many tools out there. I just wanted to share a few with you that I'm aware of and have used and can wholeheartedly recommend. But as I said, today we're going to go through things, the very basic Hippocrates model. So as you can see on this diagram above, we have a little bit of a breakdown of the 4 temperaments. You have your sanguine. Your sanguine is yellow, a nice bright, vibrant color. And your sanguine is the spirited person. They are extrovert. They are relationship focused. They are usually the life of the party. They will be the people that will be able to connect people. They will be the people who will be able to bring life to your business. And sanguines are fantastic. If you're in a setting, for example, a networking event, I absolutely get cold shivers if there are no sanguines in our networking events, because they can become very flat. You need your sanguines. They are vibrant. They bring something, charisma, life to events, to your business, to your sales team, to your strategy sessions. They are absolutely essential to any team. Your sanguines, they thrive on social environments. So we'll look a bit later at other temperaments, such as the melancholic, who may enjoy social environments, but they are drained by them. So a sanguine is your type of person who will need to get around other people to be energized. Whereas your melancholic, that we're going to come to a bit later, your melancholic will be drained by these situations and will need to withdraw and have some isolated time to recharge their batteries. And so that's just a little bit of a comparison. We're focusing on the sanguine now, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of a comparison. Now, sanguines can get bored easily. And so one of the problems I've come across when mentoring sanguines, and I warn them about this every time, and without fail, I'm right, and it happens, no matter how much I warn them. But your sanguines, they will get bored easily. And so they will be very excitable easily. They will get very on board with a project or a job or something. But then when it becomes routine or mundane or they just get bored, they'll be looking for the next shiny thing. They'll be looking for the next thrill or exciting thing. And so if you are a sanguine and you're in business, you need to understand this about yourself and understand that you're allowed to be excited about things. So find things outside of your business or within your business that's not going to take you off course, that will keep you excited about it. You need this. There's nothing wrong with that. But you also need to understand that if you keep chasing after the next shiny thing, the next exciting experience, you are going to hop from business to business or from job to job, or within your business, you're going to keep changing focus. But the bottom line is, no matter what context, you're not going to get anywhere. Because as we've discussed many times on the Ultimate Business course, it takes time. You're going to need to put some time into building your business. And so sanguines really need to understand themselves, and if you're managing a sanguine or you'd like a sanguine on your team, then they will be a great asset to your team, but you're going to have to keep them motivated. You're going to have to make sure that they have enough in their role to stay excited, to stay passionate, otherwise they're going to move on to the next shiny thing. Now, you get, of course, in all temperaments, you get an immature version of a temperament and a mature person, all right? So you may have a sanguine who is very immature, and that does nothing to do with age. It's to do with maturity. It's not age dependent. You can get a very mature young person and a very immature older person. So depending on the maturity of the temperament, you might find it easier or more difficult to work with them. A mature sanguine will understand themselves, and they will keep themselves reined in. They will understand how to behave in social situations in a way that's professional, but without stopping themselves from being the life of the party, because they need to be authentic. An immature sanguine could potentially say inappropriate things or behave in an inappropriate manner. They could not understand that they need to focus on the task at hand and get easily distracted, and they could even be prone to a little bit of laziness. They can also be sarcastic, forgetful, and easily distracted. And so we don't want to focus on the negatives, but we want to be aware of them so that we can grow in maturity. So if you are working with a sanguine, or if you are in a sanguine, understanding how the sanguine temperament works, its weaknesses and its strengths will be highly beneficial to your business. And next we move on to the choleric. Now the choleric, they are more of a red temperament, and red would indicate passion, it would indicate maybe even a bit of anger, but it indicates all of those emotions that are quite strong. Your choleric is your ambitious, leader-like, task-oriented person, and they can often lack people skills. They are very focused, and if you ever want someone on your team to get the job done, to make sure that it happens on time, on budget, or if it's a difficult thing and you need somebody who has the grit to push through, then you need to get a choleric on your team. Cholerics can be difficult to work with, but they will get the job done. Again, it depends on maturity. A mature choleric will understand these things about themselves, and they'll make a bit of an effort with their people skills, and an immature choleric will just be plain bossy and rude. And so we are all at different stages of maturity, and we do need to understand people and bring out the best in them. So if you are a choleric, take stock and just consider, are you doing the best you can do to bring out the potential of the people in your team, or are you just pushing them too hard and breaking them? If you have a high staff turnover or your team don't stay with you, perhaps you're a choleric. Perhaps you are just pushing people a bit too hard. You have high standards, you're probably highly efficient, and you're probably an extremely hard worker, but you may be dealing with other temperaments, and they can't cope with your pace. And so a choleric really needs to be able to motivate the team around them in a very nice way, but still get the job done. Your cholerics are typically energetic, aggressive, task-oriented. They are unemotional extroverts. Whereas your sanguine is your emotional extrovert, your choleric is your unemotional extrovert. So just so you can see a bit of a difference. So cholerics are essential. The cholerics are some of your top business leaders, because they will get the job done. And a mature choleric is a great asset. So if you are trying to build your team and you understand that you're a choleric, then you might find that you get easily annoyed with people, and you want to change your team regularly because they annoy you. Because you want people who are just going to be like you. They're going to sit down, they're going to focus, they're going to get the job done. Right? If that's you, you may wonder why people are not so loyal to you. It's because you're not really nice to be around sometimes. And I say that because I am one, so I can say it. When I'm in work mode, I'm very choleric, very driven. So I really understand this temperament. But I've also read a lot of books and done a lot of study and observed people a lot to understand that I need to behave and speak and act in a particular way if I want to have a team. If I want to work as a lone ranger all by myself, stuck in my office all day and just focus on getting the job done, then I can be a happy choleric, but I will be a very lonely one. And so there are things that we can do as cholerics to make sure that we do get the job done. We are driven, we are incredibly ambitious and goal-oriented, but also we understand that we do need people around us. And so we take time to learn about those people, understand them, and make sure as the leader, because if you're a choleric, you will be leading. And if you're not leading right now as a choleric, you will be frustrated because you want to lead. You'll be frustrated if you have a phlegmatic leader or a sanguine leader or a melancholic leader. You will want to naturally take the reins and lead whatever it is whatever business or situation you're in. That's how you feel. So if you're frustrated right now, perhaps you're a choleric. Now, cholerics need to understand that they have to earn the right to lead. They have to serve well. They have to take all of their amazing gifts and strengths and put them to good use to serve people. And when the right time comes, the reins will be given to you, and then you will have a position of leadership out of honor and out of respect, not out of pure bossiness and arrogance and taking over. If you're working with cholerics, you need to understand that they need to be given some freedom to lead. They need to be given clear targets that they can achieve so that they can feel a sense of accomplishment. If you don't have a choleric on your team, then you may not really get your business to reach its full potential if you don't have a choleric driving a project or a team. Then we move on to your melancholic. Your melancholic is analytical and literal. They are your emotional introvert. They are your temperaments that are more prone to depression because they feel things more deeply. And when they feel something deeply, it's going to stay longer. So your melancholics are the sorts of people who could get hurt easily, and it would take them a while to get over it. Whereas a sanguine, if they got hurt, they would feel the hurt just as deeply, but they'd bounce back very quickly, and it would be in the past. And so, and yes, hurt occurs in business. It really does. Business can be painful, especially for a melancholic. And in this case, I understand this as well because my other temperament is melancholic. So when I'm in work mode, I tend to be very unemotional extrovert, which is an extreme opposite to the melancholic. Focus, get the job done. But when I'm in my I wouldn't say natural self, but when I'm in my maybe home self or when I'm working by my alone, I tend to be a lot more melancholic, which is an emotional introvert. And you may also have extreme opposite temperaments. In particular situations, your one temperament is switched on, and in other situations, you'll find you have another temperament. No, you're not schizophrenic. You just have different facets. You have different sides to you. Although the personality profiles indicate that my dominant temperament is choleric, I find I have to withdraw and be by myself in order to recharge my batteries. And so you might find that as well. Which temperament do you need to go into in order to be filled and recharged? And so consider that as well about your temperaments for yourself, but also when dealing with people. If you are taking a melancholic into your team and you're forcing them into social situations continually, you are going to wipe them out. They are not going to perform well. Your melancholics are your people who will do the repetitive tasks. They will do the admin. They will do the spreadsheets. They will absolutely love you if you give them data, if you give them things to organize and be analytical with. They'll absolutely thrive in that setting. They would love to do research for you, and they would love to do project-based work where they can be left alone and just get on with it. If you're a melancholic, the danger for you in your business is that you can get so caught up in your little bubble that you don't get out into the world. You don't get out there with your business. And so you could achieve a measure of success, but you're not likely to achieve your full potential unless you force yourself out of your little bubble of isolation and get out there and go networking. Get out there, go to events. In fact, melancholics makes fantastic public speakers, ironically. So if you can get yourself to the point where you're comfortable with public speaking, you can get out there and grow your business through public speaking. Now, all temperaments, again, have the potential to be great public speakers as long as they understand what works best for them. So your melancholic is introverted, emotional, also task-oriented like the choleric, and a deep thinker. Melancholics can also be very cautious. They can be very perfectionistic, which would lead them to procrastinate. And so if you have a melancholic on your team, you might need to every now and then tell them to let it go. Just tell them that's fantastic work, it's fine, we are happy with it, now move on to the next thing. Because your melancholic will actually get a lot of pleasure out of tweaking and fine-tuning and perfecting something. And actually, it could become a little bit too much where it's not necessary. It's just repeating and redoing things for the pure pleasure of it, for the sake of it, and actually cost your company valuable time. If you're a melancholic, that would be the same danger. Are you spending too much time enjoying the bookkeeping or the spreadsheets or the research or the analyzing and not actually doing the things you know you should be doing? If you have a melancholic on your team and you're putting them on the phone all the time, you are not going to get very good results. If you want to get good results on the phone, then get a sanguine in. Give them a phone, give them a list. They will be as happy as a pig in mud. If you want to get the best out of your people, then you need to understand what really makes the different temperaments tick. And you know what? If in doubt, ask. Do you like making phone calls? Boom. Yes or no? People will quickly tell you, because phone calls is very Marmite. It's very much you love it or you hate it. And so you can very quickly learn a lot about a temperament by asking them, do you enjoy making phone calls? There, easy. So you don't have to go into really in-depth 3-week course on temperaments with a new team member to find out if they're a sanguine or a melancholic. You know, just ask them the phone question and that will quickly put them into a box. Phlegmatic. Our final temperament is a phlegmatic. Now, your phlegmatic will usually in other personality profiles be associated with green, very earthy, very peaceful. Your phlegmatic is calm and they're an absolute pleasure to be around. Your phlegmatic will be the peacemaker. If there's conflict in your team, your phlegmatic will try and bring everyone together. Your phlegmatic will also speak in a very calm way, depending on how phlegmatic. I have encountered extreme phlegmatics who take a very long time to say what they want to say, and they have an amazingly peaceful manner about them. But for somebody like me who's a choleric, that could drive me a little bit mad, because I want the bullet points and I want it now. What are we doing? When are we doing it? How are we doing it? Why isn't it done already? Okay. Phlegmatics are essential to any team. You need somebody to bring the tone down a bit and to bring a sense of calm into the room. And so if you have a room full of sanguine and cholerics, oh my goodness, the energy and the intensity is going to be so high. But if you bring some melancholics and phlegmatics into the mix, it brings the balance about and it creates this wonderful team. Now, phlegmatics are valuable. They have strengths that every team needs, and like every temperament, they have their weaknesses. And again, there are degrees of temperaments. So you can be an extreme of one and a little bit of another, or you can be a bit of one and a bit of another with a pinch of the other one in. You might even have a dot of another one, so we all have a mix of temperaments. Your phlegmatic, they are introverted, they are unemotional. So they are quite reserved, but they're not emotional about it, whereas the melancholic will be quite introverted, but prone to crying, a lot of crying, depending on the degree of melancholic. But your melancholic would cry in a business meeting if they were at a certain point, whereas your phlegmatic would just hold it in and bottle it up. They are people-oriented, they're peaceful, they're faithful, they're affectionate, but they can be prone to being lazy or stubborn or uninvolved. And so your phlegmatic could kind of like go, that would be the contribution to a very intense creative session. Or their response could be a bit like very laid back, so that they're so laid back that they actually appear to be lazy. Phlegmatics will struggle if you put them under pressure. If you have a phlegmatic in your team, you do need them. You need that person that's going to be level-headed and bring a sense of calm. They will get the job done. They will get it done in a very thorough, peaceful way. They will get the job done. It might take a little bit longer, but there will be a great quality of work. Having a phlegmatic on your team having a phlegmatic on your team means you're going to have somebody who's very loyal, and they are going to be the one who's going to compensate for the choleric's lack of people skills, the sanguine's over bubbliness and not considering how what they're saying makes people feel, and the melancholic's deep thinking withdrawnness. So your phlegmatic will take all of these different negatives of the other temperaments and bring about a balance to your team. And so you really do need to understand the 4 different temperaments, their strengths, their weaknesses, and how when you bring them together, how they interact, but essentially how they bring about a balance to your business. And so identify your dominant temperament. Look at the things that you're really good at and keep doing them. And then look at your supporting temperament, your other one. And again, look at the things you love doing, the things that fill you, and keep doing them. And then look at what's missing. So first of all, what I tend to do in my team is identify what temperaments are missing in my team. So the temperaments missing in my team means that there are also certain skills missing, and there are also certain functions not being done. So if I'm left to my own devices, the phone calls will never get done. So it's essential that I look for a sanguine and get them on board to support me in making phone calls and doing some of the people-facing activities. I also need to look at getting a phlegmatic in my team, because I need somebody who's calm, who will just get about getting on with things and not need to be excited and hyper all the time. And so my phlegmatics in my team are absolutely amazing. They are the ones that are consistently just, without even realizing it, they are just there, chipping away at what needs to be done and doing a fantastic job. And every now and then they pipe up and ask me a question by email or whatever the case may be, and I'm like, oh yes, okay, you're still working with us. Sorry, that's my lack of people skills again on the choleric front. But so we need all 4 temperaments. None are good, none are bad. They have strengths and weaknesses, they have degrees of intensity, and they have levels of maturity, but they're all essential to your team. So I hope that helps. We're going to move on to the next section, where we're going to look at building your team, looking at skills gaps and things like that. But I wanted you to first have a good understanding of the 4 temperaments, so that you can be building your team understanding what makes people tick, what frustrates people. I mean, we've just touched on it today. Like I said, I've spent years, 20, 25 years reading and researching this because I find it fascinating. So get some good books. Also read books such as John Maxwell's Winning with People and 360-Degree Leadership. Look at books that deal with the 4 temperaments. Maybe read or have a look at some of the Strengths Finder, the Gallup Strengths Finder, Myers-Briggs, and just educate yourself and be prepared to be an excellent leader. As a business owner, you're a leader. As a business owner, you should be building your team. And we are going to have a look at that in a second. We're going to have a look at how you actually build your team, even if you currently have 0 budget to employ anyone.